Okay. So today starts week 3 of the Algos, where we start going into weeks 3 and 4 are going to be like interview questions, Algos, and also some other prep work. Because we don't want to just focus on just Algos. We want to make sure we're ready for anything interview-wise. So, I was going to show you guys my resume as an example of things, but also I have some interview questions that we have that I found. Sorry, my brain is like really fried today. It was a long day. Let me find my thing here real quick. So, how many of you have already been on any interviews, or have any of you have been on interviews yet?
I have not.
On purpose or just haven't yet?
I've only heard back from one place I've sent an application to, and they had closed the position. So, that's like the one successful thing I've heard back on.
Hmm.
I think I've still got to figure out how to zhuzh up my resume and um, like network with recruiters and stuff.
Gotcha. Oh, how'd it go on Friday, Chris? Or how do you think it went? Oh, okay. Yeah, so personality is one thing that they actually look at. Even though we're technical, they still look at that type of stuff. And that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that you guys were, sorry, I'm really cold, were aware of, is that 93% of communication is done non-verbally. Which means as soon as you, especially if it's a remote interview, as soon as that camera comes on, they're already forming an opinion of you. So what are some things that you guys can think of that could be bad non-verbally in terms of interviews? Nice, Chris.
Pretty awkward,
What is?
like being awkward with them.
Yeah.
Like when someone's trying to figure me out, I'm usually trying to figure them out too, and it comes off pretty weird.
I know crossing your arms is a big no-no. I mean, that's for in person or over Zoom, meeting as well, but because it gives the wrong impression. Anything that you could think would give you the wrong impression, is definitely just like big no-nos. Yes, absolutely. General presentation, body language, speaking and sentence fillers. Yes. Is probably a bad thing to be saying. And the like word. I hate that one. But they're gonna know that you're nervous because it's an interview, so of course you're nervous. So certain things are going to just help happen naturally, but make sure that you're speaking from the heart or the brain or whatever, but don't try to make up things because they can tell the difference in your voice. But the biggest thing is you want to have a good overall presentation. A shirt like this, probably not a good idea for me. For an interview, it could be considered too revealing. But a t-shirt probably isn't good either. I mean, I can wear pajama pants, or for all I care, I could be naked from the waist down. They don't care. As long as I don't stand up, we're good. But in all honesty, if I'm gonna go for an interview, even though it's over a meeting, I'm actually gonna dress up from head to toe. Because yes, dress for success. That's a big one. But if I'm dressed from head to toe for an interview, my mindset is going to be in an interview mindset. If I'm comfortable from the waist down and uncomfortable because I'm a dressed up type of thing on the top, I'm not going to be me. I'm going to be confused because my dress is confused. So it's probably a good idea to just dress head to toe as if you're going to be an in-person interview. I mean, I guess you could kind of ditch the shoe part, but definitely have good posture. Don't cross your arms. Probably shouldn't be leaning or anything like that, but don't get too comfortable is one thing that I've been told. I'm an old school person, so if I go to an interview face to face, I would probably have my resume with me because I'm old school, and that's what we were always told to do, is have a couple copies of your resume with you and bring it. Yes, good lighting, and definitely have a camera. If you can, depends on the type of meeting, have a background, but have it just a plain background. Don't have a whole lot of stuff going on in the back. I can't remember which one it is. I think Teams you can. Skype, I don't think you can put a background. Zoom, obviously you can. There's another one that I can't remember. It might be like Google Meet. You can't put a background, or it's hard to put a background. So make sure that like the background where you're sitting is at least people free. But at the same time, this is probably not a very good background. But yet it's not bad necessarily either because it's my office. So I'd probably I'd be apologizing for the mess behind me, but it's my office. I'm still rearranging things. So I don't know. But what are some other tips you guys have, or things that you guys can think of that would be good for especially the nonverbal parts? Because like I said, that's 93% of your conversation is going to be that. You like the bat, huh? Don't forget that they're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them as well. Because just because you get an offer letter doesn't mean you have to take it. So if you don't like the way they present themselves, maybe that's not the right company to work for. So there should be some things that they're doing as well. I'm gonna put my thing back on. Okay. Put this up. So this is my resume. I need to update it again. I mean, it's pretty up to date, but it could probably add more stuff to it. What are some things on here that you guys notice?
Skills and projects.
Mm-hmm.
Your project section is kind of like what I'm trying to redo mine to look like.
I need to update it. And I have better projects to put there now. Anything else you guys notice? Good or bad that you like or don't like?
Just a bunch of links.
But not,
So
but not
sending
just
like
links though. Notice that they're links, but I actually spelled everything out.
instead of visit site.
Mm-hmm.
So is one better than the other than like putting the whole web address versus visit site and then just linking it?
My thought process was, I don't know who's going to get this and whether it's going to be a printed copy or a digital copy. Yes, the links are all clickable. So if it's digital, they can just click it and go. If it's not digital, if it's like they print it out, they can at least type it in. You're right. It's not Node.js, it's Node.js. What about my experience? Do you guys notice anything about that? They are not aligned properly. You are correct. I should have them better aligned to make it look nicer. Mhm. Yep. But notice with my last two jobs, or I guess technically my first two jobs, depends on how you look at the list, there's a big gap. A pretty large gap. I worked between those two. However, the jobs I had have nothing to do with software engineering. I was a home healthcare aide. I worked for a collections agency for a little bit. So I left those off because I felt it it wasn't gonna help me. It might actually hurt me. I don't think it would hurt, but yeah, I was all customer facing stuff. Nothing was at all remotely to deal with software engineering. So I did leave them off. But if you leave things off, you need to be prepared to explain the gaps. In my case, I had what I felt were valid reasons for the gaps. Oops. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom for some of the years, but so that was part of my reasons, but and I should probably have more bullet points to some of these as well. You want to make sure that you cover everything that you did, as well as like showcasing as much as your skills as possible. Also, the one-page resume is no longer a requirement. I mean, don't have like a 5-page resume. But you don't have to stick to 1 page. This is the most bare bones I could get my resume for the technical one. And I tried really hard to get it to 1 page, but I just can't. Yeah, exactly. My font was just getting way too small and I felt like I had to cut out too much stuff. So like I want to add more skills up here. Because there are other skills that I could add, like I'm Scrum Master certified or certain things that I could add up there that could help. And you should have a bare minimum of 2 projects. I've been told 3 is better. And I've also been told that if one of the 3 can be a group project, that's also good. Because it can help them see how you worked within a group, especially if you give them the GitHub address. I also left off any education that had absolutely nothing to do with the technical world. I forget what the thing is that they do, but there's this site that they go through, the career services guys, and like it'll scan your resume and give you a score. Mine actually scored pretty good. It scored over 90. So I'm happy with that. Has anybody heard of having more than 1 resume?
I don't see why not, but I haven't heard anything about it.
You should actually have a master template or a master resume, and then that has like all your skills. Like if I were to add all my skills, this list would be insane. You know, I can type 55 plus words a minute. Does that matter for software programming? Not necessarily. But, you know, I have medical training. Again, software engineering, they don't care about that. So yeah, exactly. You have a master one or a base one, and you can tweak it depending on what it's for, depending on what job you're applying for. So this is my technical one. I actually don't have a master one at the moment. It's actually really, really smart to do that. I have heard mixed reviews on cover letters. I've heard some people like them, some people don't. I personally am not a cover letter person. I'd rather they just see my resume. But that could potentially hurt me. Because from what I've understood, most of the time, if they don't like cover letters, they'll either say they don't want one, or they'll just throw it out and just look at the resume. Yeah, exactly. Same thing, Chris. If they don't read it, but if it's not attached, it's some sort of filter that you didn't put in the effort to create a cover letter. But I think they're stupid. That's my personal opinion on those. But um, but yeah. Is there anything you guys don't like or did like about mine? Anything else that you guys noticed or Chris, do you have yours on Google as well? Oh, like in the projects? I have I save mine to my Google Drive. And I have a docx version and I also have a PDF version on my Google Drive so that I can easily just send the link. But I also have them downloaded as well. So I can easily just send it that way too. Personally, I find it's much easier just to have the Google Drive and just send them the link. But not everybody plays that way, I guess. I feel like mine is too. I feel like mine looks too wordy. Like there's not enough spacing.
Yeah, how do people feel about white space on a resume? Like, is
I've
it
heard
bad to have it?
I've heard mixed reviews about that. So my first thought is if there's too much white space, then they don't have a lot of experience. Um, but at the same time, like I feel like mine's too close together. I need some white space. But then I'm gonna end up being like 3 pages long or whatever. So and I don't want to do that. Um, it was really hard to begin with to narrow my stuff down to this because just from the Navy, I have so many little odds and ends and things that I did. Trying to narrow things down to just the basics was really hard. Has anybody else had that problem? Just figuring out what to put on their resume?
The correct wording to use is a big issue I have. Like
Yes.
the filtering words, trying to fit those into a resume.
Yeah,
It,
especially for the experience, like your past jobs, like how do you phrase your job responsibilities? I'm like, I I don't
I
know.
mean, I get way too in my head about it. Like, I know what I did, and when I just write it down, it
It
makes
even
sense to me, but it might sound dumb to somebody else, you know?
yeah, I never know how it's gonna read for somebody else.
And maybe it's not even somebody else that's reading it. Maybe it's a application that's reading it.
Hmm. Which is scary because if that thinks I'm dumb.
And well, that's definitely gonna think I'm dumb.
um, oh, spelling and punctuation. Proofread the crap out of your resume. Um, the last thing you want to do is turn in or send your resume to somebody when half of it's spelled wrong. I mean, the Node.js rather .js, that's a minor thing. But anything else, make sure it's spelled correctly. And of course, don't lie. There's always that one too. Um, okay, so some questions that I found. The first one is questions about tools. The first one, I think we can all answer that one for ourselves. What languages we know. Um, limitations of your favorite programming language. So, what's your favorite programming language, Chris?
Which Chris?
Oh, forgot.
I'll be Christopher, and Chris can be Chris.
Okay, so we'll go with Christopher first then.
Um, well, I'm gonna say HTML, even though it's not like programming because it has no framework.
Okay, what's the limitation of it?
You can't display all the pretty CSS stuff with just HTML. You need other files.
Well,
But see, I'm just copping out because that's like an easier answer. Like, I don't really know a language limitation. Like most languages can do whatever you want them to do. You just have to know how to do it.
yeah. So mine would be C#. That would be my favorite language. The limitation for that one for me is its deployability. My regular hosting account cannot deploy Java or C#. I have to have a VPS server to be able to do it through that hosting company anyways. So for me, that's a huge limitation. I was just trying to deploy in general. But I need more than just the basic SSH access that I have to be able to do Java or C#. You have to have a deeper access that I can't get on that hosting. I tried. I've tried a couple times. It just don't work. What
That was a
about
very good answer to that question, though.
scripting languages? Or actually, what about Chris? What's your favorite language and its limitations? It is true. What's the limitation of it, though? Well, I couldn't really think of one. Other than Create React app is being depreciated. Yeah. What about you, Annie?
My favorite language so far it's Python, because it's easy for me to understand and write it. But the limitations actually I didn't think about it. I mean, I'm not quite familiar with like other technologies probably, so that's why, because it was my main focus. But I actually Googled, so apparently it says it's slower compared to other languages. I don't know what languages they're comparing with, but they're saying actually. Oh, okay. So
Yep.
they're saying apparently it actually takes up so much of a memory. That's what I actually Googled, but I didn't read quite enough for the limitations. So I guess that's my homework.
Yeah, so Java and C# are both strongly typed languages, meaning you have to explicitly tell each variable what data type it's going to be. So it knows ahead of time how much memory it needs to allocate. So yeah, compiling languages are much faster. So Python, in terms of that, is very, very slow. Although I do love Python myself. But C# is by far my favorite. That was so much fun to learn. So what scripting languages do you guys know?
They're like
I guess
TypeScript and
I guess all of us JavaScript.
Hmm. I think there we go. So those are the scripting languages on the left. Python's considered a scripting language? It has Python, Ruby, and PHP as scripting. C++, Java, and not sure what that last picture is. There you go, top 10 scripting languages. PowerShell is considered a scripting language?
Like the terminal?
Yeah, it's got Bash in there too. Interesting. I feel like they're missing stuff. See, this one makes sense. C++, C#, Java are programming languages. PHP, Python, JavaScript are scripting. CSS and JSS? What is JSS? And then the markup languages. Interesting. I learned something new today. I I don't know. I've never heard of it before. That's an interesting chart. I kind of like that. Okay. Okay. Um, let's do, oh, testing. Is an authoring tool for CSS, which allows you to use JavaScript to describe styles in a declarative, conflict-free, and reusable way. Sounds a lot like less, but interesting. So have any of you ever done any testing outside of just making sure that it does what you told it to? Like actually used any testing software or anything like that? Done any unit testing?
Under supervision in another boot camp.
Okay, and what was the type of, what was it called? Do you know?
We were doing Java Spring stuff, so it was in the IntelliJ IDE.
Okay. Um, I did Cypress is a unit, is for testing. So that would definitely be, I think that's one of the I think that's what we're gonna do for one of the CodeZeros is kind of teach ourselves some testing stuff, unit testing. So it's definitely something to think about, of looking into.
Yeah, there was one instructor that was like a testing first approach. Like he created his tests and then the test created the code essentially.
Interesting.
I did not quite get it, but it looked cool.
Um,
Yeah, the TDD, yeah. Test-driven development, I think.
Yep. All right. So here's a good situational question. I like this one actually. How would you debug an update? That's for either of you. Or any of you, I should say.
I mean, you could use the Git version control to like revert to the working version, depending on what the bug is, if you can't just fix it.
What if it's already deployed?
Mm, just deploy an old version, yeah, that was working.
Okay. Nice. Yo, the DevOps person. I like it. So if you deployed the update and then it's found to have a bug, do you just pull the site down and just take it offline?
I mean, depending on what it is, maybe.
Yeah, I would definitely get some console logs and errors and stuff like that. But this is one of the reasons why I really like using the dev branch, and I'm glad that it's becoming industry standard now. I deploy the dev branch, so I can test it before it goes to the main branch where it's production. So I can get the bugs out in the dev branch, and I can test everything live. Unfortunately, it doesn't always catch all the mistakes still. One of my sites right now has a major bug in it that somehow went live. And I'm really upset because I can't fix it. Oh yes, working in the live branch is very bad news. Yes. That's the other reason why I'm really glad that the dev branch is becoming industry standard. Well, I like this question too. What would you change about one of your favorite projects that you did? I know the one that I was just talking about that I have a major bug in. One thing I would change would be to have done mobile first CSS from the get-go instead of just desktop and then coming in after the fact with all those CSS and making it responsive. Ooh, I like that. That's a nice change.
I usually want to change everything about my projects once I get to a place where they're done.
Why?
Don't know.
Oh, okay.
When I get done, I think it's dumb and I should have done it this way, and then I just want to start completely over.
So let me see. Ooh, they've got interesting stuff here. Hey, Brent. How about you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Let's see what questions he knows.
Oh, okay.
Um, Yeah, I can't remember which one it was. How would you debug an update?
How would I debug an update?
Yep.
Assuming that this is if it's an update for something that I wrote, I ideally would have a previous version or whatever the latest version was saved to GitHub. So ideally I'd use version control. And then if I had an update, I would essentially try to identify where the bug was happening in the application just by sight. But if I couldn't find that, then I would open up the console, or I would open up the inspector and check there for the inspector to see what was going on. And wherever it said the line was being thrown, then I go into the code and I'd set a debugger, or I'd set a stop on the debugger and run through and try and find out what was going on.
What if it was live?
What if it was live and people were, if it was a live hosted app and it was being used and it was down and people couldn't use it?
Or there was just a something in that update part of it was broken, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you just
something
take it on the whole site?
Well, I would revert to the working version if I could. Before that, I would revert to the older state before working on the debugged update to figure out what was going on with that. So I'd keep the site running, I'd keep the application running on the older version first.
So it looks like Christopher and Brent are in the same wavelength there.
All
That's
right.
scary for you.
Oh, why is it? What's your answer?
That
Mine,
okay.
I have everything in a dev branch, and I deploy my dev branches so I can do my debugging there.
Sure.
And I would redeploy that one as the live branch.
Okay, so it's
Basically the
kind
same.
of the same answer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah,
what
the
would
working
you
one would-
change about one of your favorite projects?
What would I change about one of my favorite projects?
Mhm.
Largely the styling is what I would change. And that's one thing I just feel like I always have to work a little bit harder on. I won't say that in an interview, ideally, hopefully. I guess I would try to say get better at, or what's a great way to say that? To develop more, gain more experience and expertise, and gain an eye for it. Yeah. One of the things is I have a Python storybook that generates pictures from AI, from deep AI, and I would like it to be even more interactive. And I'd like to call on the AI to write the story as you're going and respond to the prompts. So people could enter into prompts, and then the story would get written as they go, and it'd be about 10 pages, and you'd have a unique prompt directed story with unique art for the AI. The only problem with that currently, well, no problem with that, but it's a little expensive. It's a few cents every time you generate a picture. So if I just released that every time someone created a storybook, I'd be paying them $1 essentially. So that's something I got to work on.
Oh, and we found out what scripting languages are.
Did we?
Not what I was expecting. This was
What are
the
they?
picture we pulled up. Nope, that was the first, not the first one, but no, this one is right here. This was the first one we pulled up. I would never have put Python as a scripting language.
What?
I consider that a programming language. And I don't know what
What's
this one is.
Well, what's the difference between a scripting language and a programming language?
That's a mighty fine question. I guess Python does make sense then. Scripting language is a type of programming language designed for a special runtime environment to automate a specific function execution. As opposed to a programming language is a computer language which is used by humans to communicate with computers using a set of instructions. So Python would be both then, I would think. Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to yawn. It was a very long day today.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong one. And have you ever used any testing software?
I have not. Testing is something I really need to get better at. Or not get better at, really figure it out.
Oh, ouch.
That's insane. Wow.
For the viewers at home, Chris mentioned, speaking of site costs, I saw a site a guy did for a school project. He was using Mapbox or Google Maps API. It got on TikTok and went viral. Overnight started getting 1 million hits. After a few days, he had a $300,000 bill. That's crazy.
That's insane.
One of the things that I did for unit testing was it was called Cypress. I was mentioning how maybe that could be another CodeZero event, was learning some testing.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be really good.
And what are some limitations of your favorite programming language?
Some of the limitations of my favorite programming language. I don't know what the limitations are. I'm still learning really its capabilities, which my favorite programming language is C#. And I don't feel like it truly has too many limits that I'm aware of, that I don't really know if there's anything it can't do that other languages are really doing better.
My favorite is C#.
So I don't have an answer.
Mine, the limitation for me was its hostability.
I see.
My regular hosting company cannot, my regular hosting account, excuse me, cannot do C# or Java because I don't have enough access. So I have to have more of a VPS server. I have to have root access.
Yeah.
So how many of you have deployed anything?
I've deployed 2 things so far, and I might be ready to deploy a third if I can get it finished pretty soon.
Nice, Chris. What about you, Christopher and Annie? Have you guys deployed anything?
I've got some things on Netlify.
Okay.
I tried actually with a lot of help, so I'm I'm very new to it. So
Okay. It's not most likely going to be something that you're going to be required to do for most developer jobs because there's a DevOps team for that. But it is good to know the processes. So Christopher, you said you've done Netlify. Did you do it through GitHub?
Yeah, it's taking a GitHub repo and just like deploying that.
Okay. And what about Chris and Brent? How did you guys deploy things? Did you guys also go through GitHub?
I've deployed through Netlify, deployed through Heroku, and I have deployed through Azure.
Okay. Okay. So if I remember correctly, all of those you can connect through GitHub in one way or another to get at least your code there. One thing you might
Yes.
want to look into, my hosting account, for example, I can connect my GitHub, but typically I connect through FTP. And I use something called FileZilla to actually upload my code and upload all my files. Again, it's more of a DevOps things, but it wouldn't hurt to also learn it yourself because then you can know the processes and then you can know exactly what needs to get sent to DevOps. It's fairly easy to understand. It's not that hard. At least I don't think so. For most of us that are alumni type of thing, I don't think it's a very big learning curve. But it's definitely good to look into other ways to host things. AWS EC2s is definitely good. Netlify, Vercel, Heroku, GitHub Pages even. Not just know how to do it, but their limitations as well. Like GitHub Pages, you can't deploy anything that's non-static. So like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that's it. That's all you got, 2 pages. Vercel and Netlify are mostly front end only. I think there's a few backends that can be done through there, or a few full stacks, but not real backends, not a database, I don't believe. But Heroku can do databases. It does. See,
Yeah, Heroku can do databases. Heroku uses Postgres. Postgre.
Yep.
Don't know how to say that. That's a good thing. I should know how to say that in an interview. How do you say Postgres? Is it Postgres?
That's how I say it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I knew one of the two, Vercel or Netlify, did SQLite. So I guess it's Vercel that does it, Chris said. So it's definitely good to know what the limitations of those hosts are. Like, does it only have a certain amount of uptime? Does it go to sleep after a certain amount of period and have to wake back up? Is there costs that could be involved if you go past a certain usage limit? Things like that. I also recommend, if you can, to try to deploy something on your own domain. Just because it looks more professional. Like, portfolios on your own domain look way more professional than a portfolio on Vercel or Netlify or something like that.
Yeah.
They're
Do you
not
need
bad.
a server
What's that?
on your own domain? So just purchase the domain and security certs. Oh.
Yeah, and SSLs. Yeah, you definitely want an SSL. It all depends on where you go to purchase your domain. There's a lot of ways to do it. I purchased my domain through Namecheap, or I've done it through iFast, and iFast is where I have my hosting. And then I just have to connect the DNS. So that was like, I think along with the testing, that was something else I thought we could do for a CodeZero, is just to learn some of the DevOps stuff, because I really think it's important that we do know it, because it would make like that's why I consider myself a full stack engineer, because I have to have my hands in the entire pot. I can't just on the front end and just ignore the back end. I need to know what's going on there. I need to see how they're going to connect. For me, that's a me thing. Some people are perfectly fine just working on front end or just the back end. Me, I need to have my hands all over the place. So it's definitely something you should at least know a rough knowledge of. Like how to change your DNS for things like that. Nice.
Okay.
I just think it's better overall, personally. Just like I think a UI UX person should have some basic coding knowledge, because they can build beautiful pictures, but then when we go to actually code it, we're like, dude, that's not possible. We can't build that. But if they had some basic HTML or something like that knowledge, they could build even better designs, because they now know the limitations. The only other thing, because you weren't here at Brent, the only other thing was we looked at my resume just to get some ideas of what through I can't remember the name of the system that they use at Coding Dojo, that send the resumes through type of thing, and it scores them. Mine scored over 90, so it's
nice.
Well, I just don't like it because it looks too busy.
Oh, can I do that?
What?
Can I get my resume scored?
Yeah, I just have to remember what the name of the thing that they use is. I can't remember what it is, and it didn't
do it automatically.
Yeah, you just upload your resume and it scores it. I just can't remember what it is.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Let me see. Actually, you know what? I can look it up. If I can find wrong one. Switch to. Hey, where'd Coding Dojo go? It's already kicked me out of the system. Oh, I'm joking. Ooh. All I gotta do is find the one of my P&A classes playlists. So where is content playlist? Let's go to December's. Projects and Algos, yeah. And it would have been oh nuts. Resume stand out. Hey, look at that. That's the one I wanted. I'll recognize it as soon as I see the link for it.
Very cool.
Technical resume, ATS. Yes, it was an ATS system, but I just can't remember which one they use. Formatting. No. Job scan. That was it.
That's it. That's kind of what I pulled up here. That looks good. And you can just use it?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Scan your resume. And I threw mine in there. I think I actually oh, it's probably because I'm already in there. Continue. Yeah, mine scored a 91.
That's great. Oops, mine scored a 404.
I don't think that's good.
It means I have to log in. It said 404 gotta log in.
Where is it? There we go. 500 would be better. That's great. So some of the things that my resume, since we already looked at mine, was missing was a job company's name and web address. So I had the name, but I don't think I had the address. Full stack engineer title provided or found was not found in my resume.
So do you have to provide a resume that you're trying, or a job that you're trying to apply for, and it'll kind of tell you what it is, like how good you are for it?
You can use it for that. Me, I just uploaded I uploaded this resume because I was curious as to how it would score, and it scored a 91. So it's like, I'll take it.
Right. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, but it seems like it's saying like, no, you need other stuff. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
I don't remember adding anything else to it.
Create new scan with do you have like see job description, full stack engineer? I see.
I don't even know if I have that because I have updated it a little bit. I don't think I have the new one here on this computer. Oh, apparently I do.
I got a 91 too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I need to redo mine
The
bad.
match rate is calculated based on the frequency match, the skills, keywords, detail. You find that 75% is generally a good match. Applicant tracking system findings are based on best practices that get you past the ATS. They are based on the most commonly used ATS, such as ACIMS, Telio, and Job Invite. Okay.
Yeah, so it didn't do too bad. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
happy with the 91, but there's definitely things I need to update about mine. Unfortunately, I have to add the whole, Coding Dojo ended thing. I mean, it's not ended yet though, so that's why I'm leaving it as present. Technically, it still is present. But
Yeah, you should do that. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, any questions, comments, concerns, tips, anything you guys want to add about what we kind of went over today?
Cool.
Can't think of anything.
Nice, Chris. Good
Woo.
job.
Wait, now I'm starting to get suspicious. I'm not saying that your guys' aren't good or that mine isn't good. I'm just saying they're all getting these all these 91s, huh? Not 92, not 93, 99, just all 91s. Okay.
No, it's not a 5
Interesting.
for sure. It is a little suspect. It is interesting. I mean, but maybe they're all good. I don't know.
If
Yeah, I don't know.
resume return 91.
Well, that at least it made me feel good. Nice
Right?
confidence boost.
That's all I'm asking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make me feel good. Yeah. Yep. So on Tuesday and Thursday, we're gonna do basically the same things. I'm just gonna have some different questions, interview questions that we'll go over.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I'll change some red X's too. See if it goes up. Other than that, I will let you guys go.
Good night. Thank you.
Great. Oh, can I talk to you guys really quick?
Oh yeah.
I have one of the things I'm really thinking about doing, or that's kind of stuck out to me. I was in this free code camp